The next big bubble being Hollywood, but going back, you've been on your TV show, British radio, Russian radio, national French TV. You're everywhere, a global force out there, Max Keiser.
Play the Moscow clip. Tell the people.
Okay, guys, do you have that clip queued up of him on Moscow radio and TV? Okay, let's go ahead and play this clip from Max Keiser. Here it is.
Let me, before we leave this idea of financial terrorism, let me just elaborate on that a little bit. Because
мы перейдем на это, позвольте еще два слова насчет финансового терроризма добавить.
Okay. Typically, people associate terrorists with fanatics who are associated with an ideology.
Обычно люди говорят, что террористы — это фанатики, у которых есть определенная идеология.
That they're willing to kill themselves and others for that ideology,
И ради этой
including
идеологии они готовы убить себя и убить других людей, в том числе невинных жертв.
Now let's talk about Hank Paulson for a second. He believes in an ideology called market fundamentalism.
Его идеология — это рыночный фундаментализм.
Which is as pernicious as any ideological theocratic fundamentalist fanaticism in the world today.
А это такая же вредоносная идеология, как любая теократическая идеология.
То есть это религия.
So it's a kind of religion.
It is. Well, Lloyd Blankfein, CEO of Goldman Sachs, recently said he's doing God's work. He's a fanatic. He's a fanatic. He's a market fanatic.
Как недавно заявил руководитель Goldman Sachs, он делает Божью работу. Он действительно является в этом смысле религиозным фанатиком.
And in the case of Lehman Brothers, you had bankers, suicide bankers, blowing themselves up in the name of market fundamentalism, and people in Iceland die. People in Iceland were rioting. People around the world are starving because of these suicide bankers and financial terrorists.
Okay, now, Max, separately, it's now.
Yes?
Now I have a video clip of Kramer on Frontline in 1996.
No, Kramer, not Kramer. Don't abuse your audience like that.
No, Kramer, we're going to play it later. Kramer saying it's a religion, a social Darwinistic religion, and that it's natural and fair and reasonable. Then we have a later clip of him 2 years ago admitting that he would rig markets when he shorted them.
No, he's talked about the way he rigs markets all the time. Kramer's a market rigger. He's a market manipulator, and he works for the market fundamentalists who believe that when they make money, it's the work of God, and everyone else can lose money because they're not down with God like they are. This is just, as I said, it's as ridiculous and it's as obscene as what's happening, with these priests, these pedophile priests who are betraying the church. Here you've got Jim Cramer, who's supposed to be a capitalist. He's betraying capitalism by performing essentially the same thing on markets, by fiddling with markets in a most unholy manner. And he will be damned, and he will go to hell as a result of that.
And then always telling us that no matter how much money they steal in government bailouts, that it's the free market, when it's the opposite, as Ron Paul has said, it's corporatism, it's fascism.
It's rigged market capitalism. And the next chapter in rigged market capitalism is going to be rigged Hollywood. And they're rigging Hollywood right now. And 2 years from today, I'll be on your show, and I'll say, wow, the Hollywood industry blew up because of all the derivatives trading, and nobody saw it coming. It was, who could have seen this happen? And I'm telling you right now exactly what's going to happen. And then because Hollywood does $10 billion a year in box office, the bankers said this is a way we can turn this into $200 or $300 billion in derivatives. We're going to run it up. We're going to amass huge fees. We're going to destabilize that entire industry, and we're going to bust it out, just like the mob will bust out a pizza joint or a dry cleaner shop. They just torch it because Hollywood's never been torched by derivatives in this manner. It's about to get derivatives by Cantor Fitzgerald and their Cantor Exchange and another group called Trend Exchange. The locusts are moving in. They're going to destroy that industry. They're going to just take all the money they possibly can, and they're going to leave a dead carcass to be bailed out by the taxpayer.
Max Keiser, stay there, which is what the bankers like. Then they'll come in with taxpayer money and take it over. Coming up in the next hour, Luke Rudowski got to have a talk with Stephen Colbert about the Bilderberg Group threatening to kill independent journalists, and Colbert talked about it on his TV show. Been about 20, 30 minutes with Luke, then I'm going to get back into government stage terror. This article up at Infowars.com is so important. Government preparing to stage domestic terror attack. Now, if you think the Iceland problems. Earth changes are bad. The volcano. Look at this French news agency report. Rare Yellowstone volcano eruption would be deadly. The biggest known volcano in the world. We're going to be talking about that towards the end of the next hour. And look, scientists had always said that asteroids didn't hit the Earth but every few million years. But Shoemaker-Levy comet that broke up in 5 pieces and hit Saturn proved, because now they can look at the solar system, that planets are being hit every few decades by big asteroids. And Earth, about every 100 years, gets hit by one. And so we are looking right now, statistically, for that to happen. Volcanoes, they thought, didn't erupt that much. Look at all the eruptions. Look at all the earthquakes we're now having. We live in a very volatile Earth. But don't worry, there's another religion, not just the fake Wall Street people. There's the derivatives with the greenhouse gas taxes, where you pay an indulgence to the church, i.e. Al Gore. He waves a wand, and Max Keiser, if we paid taxes to Al Gore and Barack Obama and to George Soros and others, would they wave a wand and stop the earthquakes and volcanoes? Because they are in the news today, and the UN is saying this is global warming that caused the volcano.
Well, carbon trading, which is an offshoot of global warming, as I pointed out on your show before, is just another derivatives nightmare being cooked up by the folks on Wall Street. And once they bust out the real estate market and they bust out the dot-com market or the savings and loan or the long-term capital management, you know, they need fresh markets to blow up. And carbon trading and box office futures clearly are going to be those markets. Cantor Fitzgerald, by the way, is big in both of those markets. You know, Cantor Fitzgerald is a firm that you don't hear a lot about. It's not as big as the other firms, except they did lose the most bankers of any firm on 9/11. That's probably their most notoriety. But they are involved in both of these markets, and carbon trading is just another way to create derivatives upon derivatives, which are designed to blow up. They're designed to create catastrophe so that the government has to come in and bail out the counterparties, as they're called. But meanwhile, all the fees that have been generated, billions of dollars in fees, are kept by the people who...
So they make money on the way up, and then they make money on the way down with a bailout, and then it always is a selective bailout, destroying their competition. Shifting gears into another subject, your take on gold and silver. I mean, the numbers we see from mainline groups is that gold should be $2,500 or so, silver $50, balanced from the 1980s numbers with inflation. And now there's been congressional testimony with insiders and the head of GATA, the gold antitrust group, documenting that J.P. Morgan and others are manipulating gold and the ways they're doing that. What's your take on that?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, let's get into that in a second. But first, I wanted to mention, because I made a prediction on your show a couple of months ago, maybe 3 or 4 months ago, and I laid it out in no uncertain terms. And a lot of people really thought that I was making a very kind of off-the-wall prediction. But listen to this, Alex. I said on your show a few months ago that Facebook, with their virtual currency game Farmville, was going to end up as a way to just basically push debt onto unsuspecting users using their virtual currency. Now, if you look this up as a headline on Guardian, Farmville user runs up a 900-pound debt, roughly $1,200. A 12-year-old boy spent 625 pounds on his mother's credit card and another 288 pounds of his own savings on the Facebook game Farmville. Now, this is the beginning. This is the start of virtual enslavement and virtual currencies. Get these kids hooked on what looks like innocent games on the internet and through Facebook, and before you know it, they owe real money to these people. They've got real credit card debts. Of course, they're being charged extortionary rates, and now they're under the gun to pay back these debts using these so-called innocent games. And you're going to see this become an explosion over the next 2 or 3 years. The virtual currency business right now.
Well, what about Second Life? What about Second Life, where people are paying thousands of dollars for a fictitious Ferrari, and they spend all their time on it like it's the real world?
But they go into debt to pay for the fictitious Ferrari. So it's similar. It's like 12-year-olds doing exactly what the people in Germany did when they bought fictitious bonds from Goldman Sachs. They wake up one day and they say, wait a minute, this was a fictitious bond. But Goldman says, wait, you still owe us $10 billion.
Yeah,
for
Max.
a 12-year-old kid, he reaches into his mother's purse, takes out a credit card. Now he owns $1,200 to Facebook, and he says, "Wait a minute! I thought it was a game. I thought it was fictitious money." They say,
We got a break.
Well, no, actually, you owe us the money, and of course, you have to give us the money right away.
Max, we got a break. When we come back, let's get into this. We found the London Guardian article. We'll put it up on screen during the break. And with the Half-Life and all these other, or Second Life, it's incredible.